Welcome to AlexGs Aquarium, everybody. Today I wanted to give an update on the 150-gallon refuge tank. Specifically, I wanted to talk about the UFO grow light that I added a few weeks ago, along with the in-tank algae scrubber concept that I added to the 150-gallon refuge tank. Now, when I added this, in part it was to try and stimulate algae growth in the refuge tank as opposed to allowing algae to grow in the display tanks. And I was really interested to see how algae would grow in this in-tank algae scrubber, exactly what kinds of algae would grow, and how much algae would grow. I started off by simply putting in a couple little tiny strings of chaetomorpha and some macroalgae that I had picked from the bottom of the 150-gallon refuge tank. Now, I hope that the grow light would definitely stimulate some algae growth. It's a 270-watt grow light with mostly red LEDs, but a few blue and green also mixed in. And I gotta say, I'm really impressed with the amount of algae growth that I'm getting. I have done a couple of things to it to kind of stimulate the algae growth a little bit as well. One, I ended up buying some chaetomorpha. I just didn't have a lot of it. These couple little strings that I have quickly became overwhelmed when some of the hair algae started to take over in this algae scrubber. And I hope to establish a good colony of chaeto because it's just so well known for being good at nutrient export, and the fact that it also makes a nice habitat for pods and it grows like crazy. And I gotta say, I put it in, had a few days where it really wasn't doing all that much. I had a little bit of die-off, probably because of the amount of light intensity it was under, but now that it's under that light, it's been starting to really take off and grow. And I'm happy to say that it's doing exactly what I wanted it to do. There's tons of pods running around there, but more importantly, there's tons of chaeto growing, tons of hair algae growing all over this basket, even on the sides of the tank. And that's exactly what I wanted to see. I have not harvested any of it yet. I want to let it go a little bit further, and then I'll probably start to scrape off small portions of it and then throw it away. I want to make sure that the algae in the 480-gallon tank and a 720-gallon tank is being outcompeted by this algae in the refuge tank. I think I've shown some real positive headway. I just tested my phosphates and nitrates in the 1600-gallon system with Salifert kits, and both are reading 0 at this time, which is a big improvement. When the algae bloom first started in the 480-gallon reef tank, my phosphates were at about 0.1. And I know that any of the existing algae is just absorbing whatever phosphates and nitrates are coming into the tank through the bio load and the fish feeding that's going on. And that's okay to have the algae growth in there as of now, because it's not spreading any further than it already is. Wherever there's a colony of the algae in the 480-gallon tank, it's literally just growing taller over time. I still remove it, but it'll come back slowly because there's still parts of it attached to the rock. If I scrub the rocks really good, or a sea urchin's gone over that area, it's not coming back. And I'm going to continue to do manual removal and make sure that the 150-gallon refuge tank is getting all the light that it needs. Now, am I going to add more of these lights to the 150-gallon refuge? Well, that's going to all depend on exactly what happens with the algae in the display tanks. I know I will eventually conquer this algae. It's just going to be a matter of time. And I don't like to do things quickly in my system, so even if it takes a few months, I'm just going to let it kind of play out, as I don't think that anything good is going to happen fast if I try to take drastic measures. Algae growth just looks amazing in this basket though. The chaeto's growing like crazy, and you might even notice that there's a small fish in there, and it's just a matter of time though until the mantis shrimp finds it and makes it a meal. Although it really wasn't interested the day I fed it, and I figured I'd just leave it in there. Surprisingly, the molly's been alive for several days, but I think it's just a matter of time before the mantis gets its meal. Overall, I'm really happy with this UFO grow light. One LED is burned out, one of the blue ones at the center. I'm not really that concerned. For a $60 light fixture, this thing's doing a pretty darn good job of growing algae. It's got its own cooling fan, and there's a pretty good chance that if I need more lights, I'm just going to buy another one of these and mount it in here and grow even more algae in the 150-gallon refuge. If you have comments or questions on the 150-gallon refuge tank, the UFO light, or the intake algae scrubber, go ahead and leave them down below. If If you have any other general questions on the 1600 gallon system, you can also go ahead and leave those down below too. And if you like today's video, go ahead, give me that thumbs up, let me know that you like the content. And of course, if you want to see more on the journey of the 1600 gallon system, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and I will see you on the next video.